welcome. I'm going to be talking to you guys about The One Thing by Marci Lyn. Since this is my first video, I will tell you the rules for my review. So basically, it's going to be my own summary because I suck at summaries, and I will leave the description down below so you can read the better summary. Second is my pros, the things I liked. Third is the cons, things I didn't like, and the fourth thing is rating breakdown. So that will have its own little breakdown. And the last thing is just some last words or recommendation. I'm gonna try to keep this review non-spoilery, but I make no promises because I might just break down and fangirl about stuff, okay? So this is a book centered around Maggie, who has just gone blind and lost her sight, and now she's dealing with her new world and her new life because she has lost her friends, her family is not understanding her, and on top of this all, she has done a prank that has landed her with a probation officer, and in this situation she meets a 10-year-old named Ben Milton, who just happens to be the only person she can see. Then she finds out that Ben's brother is actually Mason, who is part of one of her favorite bands, and yes, and throughout this book she's trying to understand her new life and why she can suddenly see when she's around Ben. Okay, so one of the pros are the characters. I really fell in love with this book, and honestly the characters play a big role in this because rarely do I pick up a contemporary book and I'm just like blown away. But this one, it had the right mixture of characters because first of all, we have Maggie, who made me laugh so much. She has a lot of spunk and who made me honestly laugh out loud in so many parts. She could also just break down, and I was just like feeling it with her, and I loved feeling that connection to the characters because I could relate to them. I loved Ben, who is the sweetest 10-year-old I've read about in a book ever, and his character is so wise for his age, and I loved his character. He's so cute. He can be a 10-year-old, but he can also be like this wise old man for no reason, and I loved that about his character. I also loved Mason because even though he sounds like he'll never be the person that Maggie would fall for, this guy has a lot of charm. I'm just gonna say that. There were definitely a lot of swoon-worthy moments in this book with him. Ben and Mason, brothers, and an awesome team to know. I also like the realness of this book because, you know, Maggie has gone through so many things, and this book keeps it really real because she's experiencing so many emotions, and her family is not perfect. They're also trying to understand what her new life is going to be about. So yeah, nothing goes right at the beginning, but I love how they just slowly start to get an understanding for each other and trying to comprehend and deal with the situation as best they can now, because lots of things happen here and I won't go into that because seriously you have to read it because that part of the story is really good. I also love that this book wasn't solely based off of a romance because, you know, to me contemporaries just have this feel of, you know, it's just going to be a romance novel. There's like no fantasy world building or something. Now, I'm not saying that that's what contemporaries need to be or that's what why fantasy is. It's just that that's my connotation and my thinking of why I don't read so many contemporaries, and I should really get that stereotype out of my head because this book was amazing and seriously has put me back into reading contemporary books because this book had so much depth to it. It wasn't just an inspirational story about a blind girl. No, this book really taught me so many things about my life and about following my dreams and how I connected to this world. And that's basically what the one thing is. It's not the one thing you're good at. It's the one way you connect with everybody else. And really love the messages in this book. I honestly highlighted so many things in here, but it would take forever to actually show you guys. But it was just so good. So like that this book wasn't completely dark. Like you would think a girl that has gone blind and, you know, her family doesn't understand her, she's lost her friends, you would think this book would turn, you know, a little depressing or so, but it wasn't. This book had a great balance of light and dark. It had its moments of just pure, oh my god, I just want to like hug her and, you know, tell her it's going to be alright, and then the next second you were just spitting water out, laughing because you could not contain the laughter. And it was really that great blend. And every time I think about this book, I think about that nice quality and balance. I also like the romance, and yes, there is a romance in this book, and this romance was so well done. It was so subtly put in. It wasn't like, you know, the whole center thing. It was just something that was added, but in a really great way. And I love how, you know, the main character and the certain love interest had this great chemistry, and it was really sweet. And yes, they almost seemed like they wouldn't match, but they did, and it was amazing. And I loved that part of this book, because the romance I fell in love with, but honestly I fell in love with everything in this book. And yes, there was a spark of drama following the romance, but that spark of drama honestly moved the book along. It didn't like deter it or like make me just want to stop reading this book. It honestly kept the plot going and actually made the characters grow, and it strengthened a lot of relationships in this book. The ending obviously was a bittersweet kind of thing for me. It was action-packed with a lot of emotional activity, because I was just like, in my mind I thought it was going to end some way, but it didn't end that way. It ended another way, and I'm really happy how this ended. I cried at the end, but it wasn't like, I can't say too much because I'm pretty sure you're gonna think, oh, it's a sad ending, but honestly, it's a really well done ending for a really great book, and I loved the ending because it gave me so many emotions and so much hope. And yeah, and it did not end the way I expected it to end, which is something that I really liked. See, I don't have any cons for this book, but maybe just a little tiny thing was that when I was going to pick up this book, I thought that the part of her prank and her having a probation officer was going to be the majority of the book, or like the first, like, you know, third of the book. But honestly, it was just a few chapters at the beginning, and nothing really came out of it except that, you know, she met Ben. I feel like a lot of people would just put it down because, oh, it's, you know, a rebellious girl who doesn't like this, and yes, she's very rebellious and independent, but she's not like a criminal or something. She doesn't commit crimes, so that would be cool. She was a blind criminal, but I mean, just saying. That aspect of the summary really doesn't play much of a big role in this whole thing. To be honest, it was just something that was meant for a result in the beginning, but honestly, it didn't have anything to do with the actual story or plot. And I feel like a lot of people would not pick this up just because of that little line in the summary, but honestly, this book is so much more than that. So now my rating breakdown. So for plot, I have 5 out of 5. Stars, it's out of stars. Characters, I have 5 out of 5 stars. For writing, the writing was amazing. It was addictive, so I gave it 5 out of 5. Pacing was also 5 out of 5. It was really good pacing. It wasn't so fast or so slow in parts. And the romance, of course, really great romance in this book, was 5 out of 5. So overall, this book got 5 stars out of 5 stars from me, and I hope from you soon, because you should really read this. And if you haven't read this, you should. And I would recommend this to anybody because honestly, I do not read contemporary books, but I love just escaping this normal world and, you know, going into some fantasy land where I can be a magical student at Hogwarts. But the one thing honestly charmed me and made me fall in love with contemporary young adult books again, and I have been picking up more young adult books because of this book, and honestly, it revived my dream and my yearning to read books again, because I was in a slump and this book took me right out of there. So those are my thoughts for this review. If you like my style of reviewing, let me know down below. Have you read the one thing? So yeah, until next time, stay bookish, and I will see you soon, okay? Bye! Basically, from the summary, the one thing is a story about a blind girl, Maggie, and now she's gotta be cover that up, or